sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
No, in the more about gel coat. When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
Rupert Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Guys, you are tuned to People for People Radio and Will Spirit Radio. How are you all doing? We name shout out. We've got Alien, artist known as artist formerly known as Graham, Gavin William Baxter, Joan, Cam Churchill, Regis, Rob, Troy, Peter Paul, John, Marion, there, and over on Will Spirit Radio we've got Brenda, hi Brenda, Rankar, Tej Madge and Vanessa. How are you all doing on Spirit Radio? With us tonight, guys, very impromptu show. We only get to talk to each other about 7:30 PM UK time, and Mark Steele with me just now thankfully agreed to come on the radio tonight and discuss what's been going on in his vicinity regarding 5G technology. Welcome to People for People Radio, Mark.
I'm alright, everybody. I don't think if everybody will be alright by the time I finish the conversation, but let's just crack on.
Yeah.
If I give everybody a little bit of background about who I am, because obviously it's a little bit on the, little bit people get concerned. I'm a weapons expert. I've got patents in this particular space. So anybody that tells you that I'm a spook, I'm not a spook, I'm a weapons development guy. And what actually happened, I invented a number of products to mitigate battlefield interrogation systems, so I know them. These are some of the secret weapon systems that are used on the battlefield. And what I'm going to explain to people is one of the reasons why troops coming back from battle space have got significant issues, mental health issues, is basically down to microwave radiation emitters, battlefield interrogation. They've actually got a brain injury. Not what, there's something wrong when we've seen something. Some of these kids haven't even been off the camp. A phased array of weapon systems, what I mean by phased array, it's a type of radar. So I'm not trying to get too technical with everybody, but everything I'm going to tell you is unbelievable. So what I'm going to suggest everybody do your own homework, because you will not believe what I have to tell you. I worked on a secret weapons site when I was a kid, when I was a young engineer. So I understand weapon systems, and I also invent in this particular space. So if you see some of my products on, defence companies' websites around the world, don't be surprised, because I'm not. But a lot of people try and make something of that. What they try and say is that I'm somebody who I'm not. What they're trying to tell you is...
Essentially what they're trying to suggest then is that Mark Steele is a shill. Okay, so we know that that's not correct and true because...
Well, I'll be doing a pretty shit job about it. Telling people about 5G and get myself into court. And the reason I'm in court... My local authority, Gateshead Council, rolled out 5G on top of me, my countrymen, women and children. I'm talking about all of us here, by the way, because this is about humanity against a weapon system. They rolled this bit of kit out, and I had a couple of neighbours who'd suffered a couple of nosebleeds at night. I had one lady who contacted me, a neighbour. She said, ever since I put these LED streetlights in, I'm bleeding from the nose, can't sleep, having some significant issues. She started breaking out, her face was starting to break down, the cells in her face were breaking down. It's a bit like Crohn's disease, but actually in her upper digestive tract. I had a few dodgy nights sleep, but you've got to remember, these masts are very small. They are situated on the top LED streetlights, and they're quite away from my home. The closest one's about 50 metres, something like that. This poor lady has one outside of her bedroom window at about 7 metres. I wasn't really paying that much attention until I spoke to another neighbour who then confirmed that she'd also never had nosebleeds in her life, and she'd developed nosebleeds since these LED streetlights had been installed. So when I really started to up the investigation, the radar was basically up, And I contacted the local authority. It became very evasive, and then I got a freedom of information request into them. When I actually got it back, it was an 868 frequency, and I thought, this is in megahertz by the way, for those that are technically minded, this is not very, it's fast, but it's not fast, and it's not as fast as what I believe to be for 5G. However, on further investigation, I then realised that what 5G really is, it's radar. So it's not what they tell you in the mainstream. It's not about faster data to your mobile device. It's actually a target acquiring system. It's target acquiring, that's where it's from. That's part of the frequencies belong to the MOD. And that's why I knew what it was. I was extremely concerned, because obviously these radiation signals aren't safe. 5G, I'm going to define 5G for everybody now, because there's a lot of confusion about what it actually is. 5G means more. It's densification. It's two technical parameters of densification, which means more, and the antenna design. The antenna design is high gain dielectric lens. Dielectric lens means can focus. So it can actually focus the signal out you. So it's unlike anything in 3G, anything in 2G, and anything in 4G. It's nothing like that at all. That's telecommunications. Dielectric lenses are used on the battlefield for shooting things. That's what they are. So you've actually got a phased array radar system that can shoot you, rolling out on top of you in Glasgow, Edinburgh, anywhere in Scotland, all over the UK, and it's here now. It's not coming, it's here. They've actually already rolled it out.
See, this is the confusion part, Mark. You know, we can all see these 5G technology lighting systems along the streets, but there's confusing messages coming back. Yeah, that's the 5G technology, but they are not fully operational as of yet. You know, so when do we think? Is it 2020? They say that they're going to have this rolled out for.
If we wait till 2021, it'll be too late, because the weapon system will be fully operational and we'll all be dead. Not pulling any punches yet, I'm going to tell you. It'll kill everything. Alright, we have 31,875 5G high gain dielectric lens antennas in Gateshead. It's only a small little borough, 100,000 population, and believe you me, that system can kill anything from as high up, probably shoot somebody up in Edinburgh, believe it or not. And I believe that's the reason why they've built it in Gateshead, because we've got quite a lot of hill here. We've got a hill which you can see right away up into the borders from Gateshead. So at Sheriff Hill, the high gain dielectric lenses, the more you have, the more focus, the more lethal they can be. And so that's what we're talking about. Like I said, I used to tell people it was, just this dangerous thing that will give you cancer. It will, but what it most certainly can do is kill you, and it can kill you quick. So there's two parts to the weapon system. You've got LED street lighting. The LED street lighting has recently been shown in Barcelona to double the breast and the prostate cancer. So all have LED street lighting in my streets now. It's pulse modulated. They're blue LEDs, by the way, and they have a phosphor coating that's a 460 nanometers, basically bluish. It's got that bluish haze. If it's got a bluish haze and it can pulse modulate, it potentially is an offensive weapon. That's if I want to catch you a little bit more quickly than I want to if you were just to pulse modulate it at a lower frequency. So the frequencies are quite interesting. So you know how you can strobe light make people have a fit. These systems can be used offensively like that. In fact, in the end of August 2017, when I brought this to the attention of the council, the people who were operating it started to use it as an offensive weapon against me in my home. Now, unfortunately, I already knew how dangerous LED street light is, so I had blackout blinds. My poor neighbours didn't, and consequently they suffered the consequences of it. In fact, a lot of them contacted the police because obviously they were wondering why these lights were strobing in the street. I also wear protective eyewear, so if anybody sees me, you'll see I've got protective eyewear from the microwave radiation and also this optical radiation, which can cause cancer. So I wear protective eyewear all the time, whether it's on a screen or if I'm out and about. People think I'm mad. It's only because I know the technology, so I protect myself. I'd always tell other people to do that as well. So they used it as an offensive weapon against me. My neighbours were contacting the police. Police have done absolutely nothing. In fact, they've ignored it. I mean, I'm not saying that they knew that flashing pulsing lights is an offensive weapon, but it is. And that's why the military use it as a subduing technology. It's not used a lot, but it can be used as a weapon. And that's what they basically roll out. But that's the soft kill side of the weapon system. The 5G part of it, the high gain dielectric lens, this is where they can actually phase the rear radar, so they can radar through the urban environment. So there's nowhere safe. I can see you through quite a lot of concrete and a lot of brickwork, and I can shoot you with it. Right, so that's what it is. I'm not pulling any punches tonight.
There is excuse me. So there is no protection.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. You could travel. You'd need to be on the ground by about. You'd need to be on the ground about 60 foot. They're all mitigating things you can do, but I never tell people what they are. And the reason why is because I want everybody to rise up and be the resistance.
Yeah.
We have a political party. It's called Save Us Now. Check it out. Set up your own organisations. We'll have to fight back. And the reason why, I'm not saying the political parties to finish 5G. We're going to have to do that. We're going to have to fight back and finish 5G. Your local authorities, so your nice friendly councillor, your nice friendly MP, they are absolutely out to lunch. They are ignoring this. What they come back and say things to you is, yeah, it's been looked at and it's perfectly safe and it fits within IC and IRP guidelines. The IC and IRP guidelines only refer to and are applied to a 6-minute exposure from a microwave radiation emitter. These emitters are insurable. These ones, 5G ones, are illegal. They are illegal and unlawful. And your local council and your local MPs have rolled it out on top of you. Now, I'm not saying that they know, however, Gateshead Council know, Gateshead councillors know, Gateshead Council MPs know, central government knows, because I've wrote to them. Central government's 5G expert for the North East was supposed to come to Northumbria University to do a talk with me at a lecture. He was going to tell us how fantastic 5G is, how it's for autonomous vehicles, etc., and how people can use virtual reality headsets, etc. And it's all the best thing in the world. It's going to be great for business. Well, I'm going to tell you what it's not going to be good for. It's not going to be good for business because it's going to kill everybody. It's economic terrorism at best. So the guy, I was actually at Northumbria University. I arrived there and he didn't arrive. A guy called Xavier Plum, and he didn't arrive to the lecture. And the man who set it up, this was Chatham House Road, so nothing would have been recorded. And the guy who set it up said to me, "Mark, have you spoken to anybody in central government about 5G?" And I said, "Well, of course I have. I've told them what it is. It's a weapon system." He said, "All right." Well, somebody knows. I'm not saying that they all know. To be fair, there's probably about, if I know, somebody knows. That's what you've got to remember. If I know, somebody else knows. Yeah. So they cannot all plead ignorant. Most of them currently are. In fact, what is even more outrageous, Gateshead Council dragged me into court. They're trying to gag me, and they say that I'm frightening people because I'm telling them exactly what I'm telling you today. But what I'm telling you is the truth. They take me to court. I've got a full injunction. After 3 months, I couldn't post any messages, anything on any social media. I can't tell anybody. I cannot encourage any other person to. Basically, total gagging, in total breach of my human rights. Right, but anyway, if I'd breached that temporary injunction, I'd go to prison. Consequently, I had to keep my mouth shut. So I was totally gagged for 3 months. In that court hearing, the counsel stated to the judge that I was a conspiracy theorist, that there was no merit in my science.
Who said this? The council?
This was the council's, well, the council's barristers. They had a full legal team. I represented myself. They stated there was no merit in anything that I had to say. It was all pseudoscience and I was not technically competent. Well, unfortunately for Gateshead Council, that's not the case. But as the case went on, they basically perjured themselves. They brought forged documents into the court. Basically, you know, I mean, I think by we got to about lunchtime, I think the judge had had enough. And he basically, when we broke for lunch, and he said, well, after at lunch, I'm going to pop off and I'm going to have a look at Mr. Steele's skeleton argument. This is the argument you put in right at the last minute in relation to the science that's already in your court bundle. And we came back after lunch, and he basically, he opened up by telling us he'd had a very interesting lunch reading my skeleton argument. And also the science, and what he actually stated was I was technically competent, that means legally qualified. He then warned Gateshead Council, he warned our legal team. He said, you listen to this man, he's a technical expert. You open up the democratic process, because unfortunately we've had the world, because I've caught these criminals, that's what they are absolute monsters. And criminals, I call them monsters because I think it's a very apt name for people that murder children in their mother's bellies, because that's what they've done. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to be clever. What I'm saying is, right, I've warned them. You have had the evidence from me, absolutely disgusting, where we've had councillors in a local authority who've actually had all of the documentary scientific evidence to show that these transmitters kill unborn babies in the womb, and have ignored it. In fact, one idiot states he doesn't believe it. Unfortunately, the science comes from Harvard University. The judge then stated to them that my science in the bundle was also competent. Well, it would be. It's from Harvard, National Toxicology, Ramsini Institute, some of the largest universities, the most respected universities in the world. This is published, peer-reviewed science, not my view. I'm not an expert in this particular field. What I'm an expert in, I'm a weapons expert. Some of the top scientists in the world, Professor Martin L. Pan, Ollie Hansen, lots of people who I can, code because they're experts in their field, and they can show that microwave radiation is in fact extremely dangerous to humans. And why wouldn't it be? It's pulse modulated energy. We're just energy beings, and if I pulse modulate energy at levels that are higher than what your cells operate, so let's take an example. Your cells operate at 40 millivolts. I fire a 4,000 millivolt charge at it. It's going to cause you a bit of a problem, isn't it? In fact, you'd have to be stupid to think otherwise. Well, the council are stupid. They believed that what I was actually stating to them, and the way that they covered this thing up, was pseudoscience. Well, it's not pseudoscience. It's a fact. It is problematic getting your head around it. I totally agree. If I wasn't the person I was, and I didn't understand the technology as well as what I do, I'd find it extremely hard to believe as well. However, we are where we are. This is real. Our government is out of control. They have rolled out a target acquiring weapons system on top of you. If you live in Glasgow, if you live in Edinburgh, the soft kill part of the weapon is called LED street lighting. It's pulse modulated. It will give you cancer. In Barcelona, it's only been in for 3 years, and they've doubled the breast and the prostate cancer. And what I can tell you, the exposure to pulse modulated radiation, I didn't know this until I got this particular piece of data, I believe that, pulse modulated LED streetlight will probably give you cancer in 15 or 20 years. However, it's actually double breast and prostate cancer. It's only been in Barcelona for 3. So what am I going to go on?
Is that not though the council's kind of small print get out clause? Because they're going to say, well, nobody's actually going to really notice because this is a long-term process, so people cannot, it's like asbestos poisoning, you can't go back in 15 years and say, well, I believe it was that.
Well, that's what I thought, to be honest, guys. I thought they would, I didn't think for 1 minute that this type of pulse modulated optical radiation, this is the LED streetlights, different to the weapon system that's on the top of the light. This optical radiation, I thought the sort of fallout from that would have been at least 10 or 15 years out. I knew it's not safe, but I thought that'd be a lot further out. It's not. It's a lot more dangerous, and the reason why I believe it's a lot more dangerous is a certain pulse modulation, there's certain frequencies you can pulse that light at people that can basically weaponise it. So I think somebody might just be, with the controller, this 5G controller, may just in fact be pulse modulated, because you'd actually, for me to be able to substantiate that scientifically, I have to measure every single lighting system in a particular area, which would prove to be pretty difficult from a scientific perspective. However, the increase in the cancer rates is pretty worrisome, considering what, the scientific piece that I know about, and the latency from this type of exposure, this type of optical radiation in cancers. I would have expected it a lot further out. The fact that it's come a lot further in tells me there's something a little bit more suspicious going on.
Well, we've had a couple of turn my mic up slightly. Apparently you're a wee bit louder than I am, Mark, so I'm going to turn my mic up and hopefully you'll be able to. Nice. 1, 2. I hope I'm not clipping though, so that I'm going to use my mic. As far as the towers themselves, the central part of where this frequency comes from, I was reading just a wee while back, Mark, that they intend, in order to roll it out everywhere, like let's say the UK is one part, okay, in order to hook everything up within the UK, they need to have these masts at 6 mile intervals. Would that be correct?
Well, we've got the smaller units, the small cells. You have them every few yards, right? And one of the things with the product that we've rolled out here, they've actually got an FCC 15 Part 15 regulation. It's basically a non-licensed product. It's what's in your deck phone. However, your deck phone at 30 meters, right, you should be able to measure a maximum if it pumps out more than 5 millivolts at 30 meters, it'll fail at Part 15 FCC. I've got one of these transmitters at 30 meters from my home, and I can measure near 600 millivolts in an upstairs space in my home. Now, to put that into context for everybody, the maximum I can expose you to in the International Criminal Court's decision is 200. So 3 times over what the International Criminal Court. That's not the best of it. I've got people who've got transmitters at 5 and 6 meters from their bedroom windows, and they are at 3,000 and 4,000 millivolts. It will kill them. They will die, and they will die prematurely. So anybody who has these LED streetlights, don't let your children play out with them unless you've got protective eyewear. Do not drive about at night unless you have protective eyewear. I mean, fancy, I'm telling people wear protective eyewear in their own communities, because your local authorities are being told that they're going to save a couple of £1,000 on electricity bill while you die. That's absolutely appalling. This technology is not safe. Those diffusers, you're supposed to have diffusers on these type of lighting systems, and as you'll see when you go out, have a look up. There's no diffuser on it. The design is specific so it catches your eye. It's called glare. Light and glare systems are illegal. So you've actually had a light put outside your home, which has a design that is illegal.
Interesting.
How do we get that? Yeah.
Okay. Where was I going to go there? I was going to ask you. We've got a few questions for you ready. But did we define whether they're going to have masts at every 6 mile interval in order to hook it all up and roll it out nationally?
Like a larger backhauling system. I think they're going to be closer than that, guys. We're seeing them every, I would think at least every half a mile, but this is the larger backhauling mast. So you've got a larger mast takes the information from the smaller mast. The smaller mast on every single light. So that's every few yards. Now they need that for this radar. Here's a really interesting thing. The system's illegal and unlawful, right? In its innocuous role. So the fact that it's actually 3D mapping your home currently, that's illegal and unlawful. And I think what's actually happened, your councils believe that, they already knew that, because what they were going to do is do some data gathering. They're going to backhaul some data out of your home, out of your smart meter. So any built up piece of equipment in your home, any IoT, they can interrogate that piece of equipment and can actually gather data from it. So if you've got a smart fridge, it knows what you've got in it. If you've got a smart meter, it knows how much usage you've got, it knows who's in the house, because it can see who's in the house, and it can also get that data from those pieces of equipment. But what it's really for, that's what your government's been told. That's what I think they believe that they've bought into. But I'm going to tell you what they've really bought into, a weapons system. They didn't think that. I'm pretty sure, because there's no point governments killing off all our population. They're not going to get any money. I mean, who's going to do all the work? So they've been hard, but the fact that they've been hard on an illegal piece of equipment that they knew they were going to roll out on you. It's like catching somebody with a till in the and that's why they're running for the hills. Because they've now realised that the weapons system they've bought was illegal. They knew it was illegal. They don't want you to find out about that, and that's why they're terrified that you find out that they are and know exactly what it is. So they're basically between a rock and a hard place, if you know what I mean. So, and that's why they're not telling anybody. That's why they're basically running for the hills. We've had a total democratic block. We've got councillors running away from people, asking them about the LED street lighting. We've got MPs putting phones down. That an MP's office put a phone down on me today because a constituent rang them up and asked them about the LED street light. The guy then rang me and said, I've spoken to my MP and they've told me it's perfectly safe. So I contact the MP's office and say, what you're talking about, you've just been found in a court where I stated in a court of law that this was illegal and unlawful. The recorder, Nolan QC, didn't actually say to me, Mr. Steele, strike that from the record and you be careful what you're saying. What he did, he just allowed me to say exactly what I knew to be true. It's in a court of law. These transmitters are illegal and unlawful. I know for a fact they are, because I don't think your government's ever been allowed to roll a weapons system out on top of you. It's exactly what it is.
Now, you were saying there about smart fridges, etc., where this technology is going to be aware of just exactly what storing in your house, what you're buying. But that also connects up, heard you saying previously, aerial type thing that's on the top of the lights. Eventually that is going to be able to ping barcodes of products, etc., that you're passing into the house with. So it's more of a data gathering system as well. Yeah, we're being profiled. How does that sit?
That's what your government's been told. This is an old saying, all dancing, data gathering, imprisoning your own home, piece of equipment. Alright, that's what your government thinks. Well, not everybody in government, by the way. There's only a very small number in government, but they've been had. Because I'm going to tell you now, it's a weapon system. It's here to kill you. It's not here to do anything other than to kill you, kill anything, kill everything. And not only that, I know this sounds absolutely mad, by the way, but it's only because I know the technology really well, and that's why I'm concerned about it enough to actually break cover and start to tell everybody. It's not about what you think it is, because the main target for this, your police, your security services, anybody involved in any organisation, right, where they think they're in charge, this thing will tear them out. That's what 5G is.
Okay,
right?
Listen, go and give us your website name again. SaveUsNow.
.org.uk.
Save us now. .org. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some information on there. There's some freedom of information downloads. Also, what I'm going to say to people, there's join the party, and I'll tell you why. If you want to get involved and you want to start canvassing people, what we're doing, what we've seen in Gateshead, councillors making up stories, fabricating information. If I was to knock on somebody's door and I wasn't part of a political party, then you potentially could be threatened. You know, they could make up some fabricated story about you as if you're pestering them and stuff like that. You get yourself in bother. If you've got the political cover, that can actually disappear quite quickly, because you're entitled to, you know, tell people about you. It's a bit like religion. You know, you can stop people in the street and you can say certain things to them without actually getting done for harassment, which I've been basically charged with harassment and all sorts of. I mean, they fabricated everything about me, unfortunately, in my locality. Now, what I cannot understand is, what does the executive have on these councillors? You know, we've got a significant number of, Labour, Liberal and councillors in Gateshead. Not one of them, not one, has had the decency to reply to my serious allegations that I've made against the council in this regard. What I've had is, I've had 11 employees of the council come to my home, make false testimony against me, state I've made threats to kill, I mean absolutely to try and gag me in any way, shape or form. And the reason for that, well, is to stop me from telling people how dangerous this particular piece of equipment is. Now, what I cannot understand is, within their organisations, what do the executives have on them? Because it cannot just be the 20 or 30,000 pounds a year they get as councillors. Cannot be that. It must be something more. I'm quite concerned about how we've ended up in such a corrupted political system, and that's the reason for the Save Us Now, because yes, we will get rid of 5G. We're here to win this. We will win without doubt. We can't lose, right? Because there's people starting to work it out, and like, you know, as we said before, weapon system's not going to be fully operational until 2020-21. And the reason for that, well, they need to take everybody out at the same time. The operational system, I mean, let's say they kill everybody in Gateshead, so they killed 100,000 people. Well, guess what? There's going to be 250,000 people in Edinburgh going, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? So they need to roll the whole thing out right across the whole country. Well, that won't happen, and it won't be fully operational till 2021. But people in the countryside, be mindful. The MIMO tanks, there's 440,000 of them planned to come into your locality. So in the countryside, they're masquerading as telecommunication systems in the countryside. Your central government's telling you so that, you know, farmers don't know how to drive tractors or something anymore. So your tractor in your farm needs to be autonomous. So they're gonna roll these things out as we speak. What you will do, you will kill every single pollinator they will kill and sterilise livestock. So they'll basically make the ground barren. So apart from you maybe being able to drive an autonomous tractor, you'll have nothing to want to grow anything for, because it will kill all your livestock. And I know that for a fact. The Mimo tanks, as we have a Mimo tank not far from us, I measured the radiation at about 100 metres from that tank. It was about 15,000 millivolts. In fact, if people want to go to YouTube, there's a YouTube channel. It's called 5G Killer Tech Mark Anthony. Get a look at it. You'll see some of the levels and some of the radiation levels from these transmitters. There's one Mimo tank in particular. I measured 15,000 millivolts, and I know that a pollinator, the science shows this, that a pollinator, a bee in particular, will be stressed at 30 millivolts. So you're stressed enough where it won't want to live in that particular locality. So at 15,000 millivolts, you can understand how that would be an annihilation event for a small pollinator. And it's one of the reasons why we're starting to see a massive collapse in flying pollinators, daddy long legs, ladybirds. I've never seen a ladybird for 2 years. I've never seen a ladybird since they rolled this crap out on top of us in Gateshead. I've never seen a daddy longlegs. We see very few flies. See near hardly any wasps. Very, very few bees. I mean, the whole collapse of
Yep. Totally agree with that.
System. Yeah.
I've not seen a ladybird, to be quite honest with you, in years. Yeah. Wasps seem to be down. The numbers seem to be down. Bumblebees, rarity nowadays. Other insects, plenty of flies, and what we call in Scotland midges.
Midges, yeah.
Midges. If you've never experienced midges, folks, come to Scotland and get a taste of how it feels. Actually, cracked a wee joke a wee while back. Mark discovered the 5G technology. I said, well, if it does away with the midges, it's it's a kind of win-win situation. But when you get down to the guts of it, okay. So, folks, if you've got a question for me to ask to place in front of Mark, if you could, because I'm getting 3 or 4 questions now in different areas, if you can PM me the question, then it's not going to get lost in the chat. One of the questions was from a lady, Karen Churchill. How you doing, Karen? She was asking of you, Mark, is there a safe distance? How far are these things effective? What's your safe distance? I wish I could find the exact question. It's a wee bit while back on the chat. I'll see if I can. Is it? How far do you have to be from the transmitter for these effects? So, is there a safe distance then?
No. As a normal transmitter, normal transmitters operate so up to 4G, so your 1G, 2G, 3G and 4G all operate on what's called inverse square law. So what actually happens, it emits over distance, and as the further you get away from the transmitter, the radiation drops significantly over distance, because obviously it's emitting over space. Alright, it's emitting in all directions. 5G antennas are completely different. They're high gain dielectric lens. So what this actually does, focuses the signal. That's the difference. That's the technical difference with 5G. 2 technical parameters, one's densification and other is antenna design, and it's dielectric antenna design, so it focuses a signal. Now to put that in layman's terms, it's like a laser. So you know how you have light in a torch where it sort of comes out and then dissipates over a distance? Well, this is a lot more complicated than that. It's more like light coming out of a laser. So you know how you can fire a laser pen. Now, what actually happens when you've got a number of these transmitters with these dielectric lens, the more you have, the more concentration you can create with the signal, So you can pinpoint it more, but you can also, it increases its lethality. So you can understand how the 31,875 we have in Gateshead is pretty an interesting weapon. In fact, I'm still trying to work out in my own sort of imagination how lethal that potentially could be to, let's say, the whole of Scotland. And I'm not saying that you don't get your own, because you are. I'm sure they're rolling them out in Glasgow, and it's actually masquerading. It's called a control management system. It's most certainly not. If you go to the Save Us Now party website to see the Freedom of Information request, anything that operates on 868, this is the sub-gigahertz range, is 5G. That was one of the things that sort of took me by surprise. 5G is operating the sub-gigahertz range, by the way.
If you were to give the listeners and myself, Mark, some suggestions for questions to put to their local council, right? Number one, what would it be?
The first thing I would ask them, and the first thing I'll tell everybody, talk about the LED streetlights. They're dangerous, they're lethal. If they're pulse modulated and they're blue LEDs with a phosphor coating, I would ask that's the first question, because that's part of the soft kill weapon. Alright? They are legal, because obviously all councils have a duty of care to you. You pass over your authority to them on the back of them protecting you. If I come and start painting your house with asbestos or pouring lead paint through your door, and I'm your local authority, you wouldn't be too happy. You wouldn't pay me, would you? Well, that's what they've done with LED streetlights. So that will reduce your life expectancy. What I'm really concerned about is the kids, younger children playing around in the streets in dark nights with these LED streetlights. They potentially will die when they're 10 or 15 year old. They won't last long with this light. It is absolutely lethal, because I just do not know what the actual pulse modulation is in your near locality. What I can tell you, the pulse modulation is square wave, where it's basically a stop-start emission. That's extremely dangerous, and I'll put that into context so everybody understands what I'm talking about. If, let's say I get here a jackhammer, alright, so I'm going to dig a bit of tarmac up, I put a jackhammer on the top of the tarmac, so I've got some load on there, alright, just with the weight of the jackhammer. That jackhammer's going nowhere until I pull that trigger, alright. That's exactly the same, because when you will get idiots who try and argue this, and they'll tell you that, well, what about the light that comes from the sun? Sunlight is immersive, alright? So it's a bit like when you get in the water and the sea's really choppy, you get in the middle of the sea and it's really choppy. Believe us, it's not uncomfortable. You get yourself next to the rocks, see what happens. So it's immersive, right? That's a natural light. These pulse modulated, these square waves, it's like a jackhammer. And to get a little bit more technical, you've got 2.5 electron volts and a 450 nanometers frequency, so the blue light part of the spectrum is higher energy. Now, the fact that it's higher energy and it's like 2.5 electron volts was said before about the cells in your body operating at 40 millivolts, yeah? Then you've got 2.5 electron volts, which is significantly higher, and what that does, that pulses at that cell, and it causes a sort of an oscillation in the cell, and that causes oxidative stress. Oxidative stress leads to cancer, and then some of the frequencies, the LED, the 450 nanometers, actually travels under your skin. So it travels a distance underneath your skin, depending on its intensity. So it travels quite a distance underneath your skin, so it damages the cells in your skin and underneath your skin. It also damages your cells in your retina, so it damages them irreparably. So these pulse modulated light radiation emissions are not safe, and your local authority has rolled them out on top of you for some imaginary global warming plan. I'll tell you what will give you global warming. You just stick a load of those transmitters up all over and see how warm the temperature gets. Because that's all you're doing, you're just pouring energy into air. And it's, the whole thing is just totally, I sometimes scratch my head. This is so we can have autonomous cars, by the way. Because that's what they'll tell you. These 5G transmitters on top of the LED streetlights are for autonomous cars. Well, one autonomous car that emits radar, microwave radiation to locate itself, probably not really much of a problem, but imagine on Princess Street and you've got like 60 or 70 cars all emitting battlefield interrogation radar into the environment, which can get very, very toxic. In fact, BMW, they have discovered a number of people whose pacemakers have been affected by cars, where they've just got this very low radiation emission where the car uses radar to park itself. So these radar parking systems, well, that's just one vehicle. What happens when you've got 20? What happens when you've got 50? What happens when you're on a motorway and there's 200 or 300 vehicles with radar on? You're not going to live very long. The toxicity level is going to be high. And how I know that, if you look at all the latest developments on the battlefield, the bit I really do know quite a bit about, autonomous tanks, autonomous vehicles, autonomous flying vehicles. The whole reason it's going autonomous is because of the toxicity level from the same battlefield interrogation systems that they're intending to roll out in your city today. It's that toxic. Men can't operate in that field. And if they do, and as they have done, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, they're coming back with brain injuries. And that's why they're committing suicide. It's not even because they've seen anything. It's because something's happened to them, because the weapon system is damaged. Their cellular function in their head. Professor Martinell Parr, very interesting character and a very, very experienced scientist in his field. If anyone who wants to read about the neurological damage caused by microwave radiation, go and have a look. In fact, go and have a look at a number of scientists in this particular field. In fact, you want to get diabetes, just put a 2.5 gigahertz frequency, I think called a Wi-Fi in your home. Not increase your diabetic potential. So these microwave radiation signals aren't safe, but the ones what we're talking about tonight are the weaponisation of them, and how you weaponise these signals is by focusing them.
Right, so this would fall under the category of direct weapon energy, isn't it?
Dual weapons, yeah. Direct energy weapons, yeah. Yeah, they've moved on quite a bit since I was a kid. But since I was a young kid, they used to be quite brutal, but now they're very, very sophisticated. Very, very sophisticated piece of weaponry. And the antenna designs are absolutely lethal, and that's how I know exactly what they are. Even if your council don't think that's what they are, your council might think that they control the light. Well, the guys that are putting them in, believers, they know exactly what they are, not what your council think they are. So, I know it sounds absolutely bizarre and mad, but it's a reality. The reality is we are having a battlefield target acquirement system built into our street lighting across the UK as we speak. Central government are rolling out 400,000 MIMO tanks across the countryside. They will kill everything. Because somebody's got a plan somewhere about how they're going to, organise a farmer because he cannot drive his tractor.
Yeah. 75%, I was having a wee laugh with one of the guys on the chat there, Mark, and he answered one of his questions and you never even seen it pop up in the chat, so I was kidding him on that Mark must be psychic. The second part of his questions was about the eyes then, the dark glass, what kind of glasses, what protective glasses do you recommend?
I always wear protective eyewear, and what I normally wear, if I'm out and about, I'll have mirrors are extremely good. It's basically the metalized coat, and it's why tinfoil, believe it or not, It's pretty interesting. I don't know, you talk about tinfoil, you get...
Are we talking the old TV programme Chips? That kind of sunglasses?
That's exactly. Mirror, any type of mirror, ABS lenses, so whatever you do, don't use glass. Glass isn't very helpful. If you have, leaded glass would be extremely helpful. But you don't get leaded glass in glasses, so you need mirror reflective glasses are extremely helpful. ABS cuts down the radiation significantly. That's why LEDs, in the ceiling in your home aren't problematic. It's because you've got an ABS diffuser over them. Where these lights in the street are extremely hazardous is because of the pulse modulation, but the fact they don't have a diffuser. The diffuser was taken off in 2015. Prior to 2015, they had to have a diffuser. Now they don't have a diffuser, which is pretty bizarre to me, because the reason why they had a diffuser in the first place is because they're dangerous. Everybody knows that optical radiation is a hazard. So why would your local authority want to roll out your optical radiating emitting device that doesn't have a diffuser on it? Doesn't make any sense.
Something that was asked of me a wee while. I just couldn't. I've not got the answer. Someone suggested to me that a circuit of electricity within your home, so you click the switch on there and all the lights that's connected within that circuit are going to light up. Yeah. So is there a central, for the street lighting, is there a central pole that is the control pole for the rest of them? Ask you that for two reasons. The first one is, I've been driving along roads and I've seen these lights lit up, and I've seen the next one not lit up, and then the next one is lit up. Yeah? So there's a gap in how many lights are actually lit up. So are they individually controlled? Is there a central location? I know you're talking about these boxes that they're putting everywhere. I'm certainly not aware of where they're putting these. The second thing that I would put in front of you, the suggestion that I had given to me was, if there's a central port for these things, it must work in conjunction, and get this, an ISP address. Would that be factual?
Well, I think what happens, we're getting confused with what a control management system is. These systems are supposed to be control management, and they most certainly aren't. And that's the reason why I see one's on, one's off, because they're not control management systems, because basically it's a weapon. So what they've got this extremely sophisticated, absolutely sophisticated piece of equipment, by the way. They can actually interrogate its own environment. But what it most certainly can't do is control the lights. So the lights on and off all over the place, right? They can control them in that pulse modulated frequency, but they are typically controlling them per se. So therefore, what you see lights on. We video it all the time. It's quite funny around here. Part of carbon capture and storage on. The lights on through the day and then they're off at night. So it is a bit ridiculous, but you're right about the central control, but there's two different parts. You've got downlink and uplink. So if I'm backhauling the data out of your home, I'm basically sucking all the data out of it. Right? So it's an uplink from your devices in your home, going back to that transmitter. But the other part of the transmitter, the 5G transmitter, is its downlink capability. This is the bit that can shoot you. Now, what your current technologists think it's going to shoot is an ATV. So you're basically got an autonomous vehicle on the road that you need to fire a signal at, which has got a lot more data in that particular part of signal. So it's a concentrated signal. And this is why they use a dielectric lens. That's what your developers believe that they're building. But like I said before, they're not. They just think that's what they're building. Because the next, I mean, if I was to say to you, let's say I came to you and said, right, I need to design this thing and it needs to have a lens on the end and we need to be able to focus the signal down there. You're going to say to me, because you're a technologist, well, what's that for? And I'm going to have to give you an answer, aren't I? So I'm going to tell you it's for one of Tesla's cars. So when Tesla eventually sell all their cars in the UK, I mean, probably bankrupt by get to that. But anyway, by the time you get these autonomous vehicles, because that's what all talking about, it's completely not a bullshit, by the way, but if they've got to give them a reason why they're building this weapon system out on top of you, if you know what I mean. Because people aren't that stupid. It's just some technologists are absolutely stupid and haven't worked out what it really is about. So that's the downlink. Now the downlink, that's what I can shoot you with. So this thing can actually 3D map your home, backhaul all the data, and it backhauls all that data, yes, you're right, to another node. Alright, and then that takes it to another node, and then that probably takes it down through a cable underground. Yeah, back to a database where, you know, they're going to analyse all this absolute bullshit data. So basically they can data gather on everything. But that's not what it's about. Because like I said before, that's what your government think they've bought. They think they've bought a piece of equipment that's going to 3D map your home. All the new money, I mean all the Scottish money and all the UK money now, it's all got RFID tagging in it. So you know, these radio frequency identity tags. It's basically a printed mirror in your money. Alright? Well, you see the 5G transmitter, they can see it. So it knows how much you've got in your pocket. And it's no good burying it in the ground, because it can look into the ground. It's no good putting it in a safe, because it can see a safe. So even if you put a safe with a lead casing around it, it knows where your safe is. So it knows where your gold is, it knows where your money is, it knows where your food is, because you know your packaging by 2021, all RFID, all your barcode tags should be radio frequency identity tags. It's basically a printed mirror. So you've got those printed reflective surfaces, so I have to pour a load of radiation into that reflective surface to get a reflection back. It's a mirror. So I get a reflection back to my transmitter and I can data gather. And what your local authority's been told, this is a smart city agenda. SMART. Let me tell you what SMART is. SMART stands for Secret Militarised Armaments and Residential Technology.
Say that again, Mark. Say that again, but a little slower.
SMART stands for Secret Militarised Armaments and Residential Technology. I just blew something.
We're trying to deal with a Geordie accent and a Scots accent here, you know. We've got non-UK people in the chat tonight asking questions. What I think we'll do, if you're okay with it, Mark, is we'll take a little break. Guys, if you get any questions, if you can possibly PM them, put them into a private message, because I'm getting lost in the chat, it's moving so quickly. Take a little break, that'll give you time to go and get a cup of tea or something made, and we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes, if that's cool with you.
Okay, no problems. Catch you in a minute.
That's grand. Okay guys, you'll be back on PFP Radio just after this. Take care.
Also.
More about gel coat. When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the...
I'm sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Also,
knowing more about gel coat. When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the...
More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
well, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
And you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Guys, you're tuned to People for People Radio. Myself for speaking off air there. We're going to put a link to saveusnow.org onto the site and hopefully get more people this side of the man-made border a little more active perhaps, and maybe take the same sort of stance that Mark has, because people up this side of the big rock needs to be woken up also, and take this to in a passive manner, no anger, no rage, just present the fact, same as Mark has done. Mark, welcome back to People for People Radio. Just before we broke off there, talking about RFID chips, or you had mentioned RFID chips, which is really a kind of segue into perhaps the next part of the conversation is, there was a link placed in front of me yesterday. There's a British company that's willing to get massively involved in the chipping process. Where do you feel that's going to go here in the UK, along with the whole 5G technology? It's going to be a case of they can switch your chip off if you disagree with the government, and you're getting fried into the bargain.
You're getting fried into the bargain. In fact, RFID tags, what actually happened is the act is an antenna, so if they're under the skin, if they're in the bone, anybody with a hip replacement, cancer, increases your cancer risk. And the reason for that is that much microwave radiation obviously takes it centrally, it acts as an antenna and takes it centrally into your bone structure. So anybody with fixtures, fittings, motorcyclists where they've been off, anybody with pacemakers, any metal fixtures and fittings, it increases the cancer risk from the microwave radiation. That's number one. It's one of the reasons why all the dogs and pets, your cats and your dogs, are dying of cancer. So where dogs and cats used to die, many, of old age, what's actually happened, dogs and cats are dying of cancer now.
Yeah, I'm still here with you, Mark. I'm reading back the chat for any possible questions that I've missed. I realise I'm getting told that my mic is fading in and out. It might just be clipping slightly. Let me have a wee look. It's because I tried to raise the levels earlier. I hope it sounds a wee bit better.
Yep.
So one of the questions we have for you is, I'll read it word for word what Graham has written. These industrial pain products can help shield against EMF sprayed onto the antenna on top of mitigates against the output. Can you ask Mark if he's aware of these products if you get a chance? It must be industrial paint products.
Yeah, well, paint them on the antenna, that will definitely help. And if you can get, there is ways to mitigate it in that particular way. But what I'm going to say to people, if we don't replace the criminals who have put them in the first place, the next minute you're going to have troops from Africa walking up your street with munitions and shooting you. Because you've got to remember, the criminals have taken over. The criminals that are behind this, right, are bringing mass, numbers from other parts of the world, training people in other parts of the world, and then bringing them here, and potentially there could be an army. Now that's happened in the past. It's happened in the 1700s, called treason. And what we have to look at, right, is we've got to replace these, and I'm not saying all, most of them are just stupid, let's be honest. I mean, come on. You talk to some of these politicians, I mean, they're all thick. I've spoken to a few, it's pretty astounding how stupid the people are. But you've got to remember they're stupid there for a reason. They're employing stupid people, specifically so they can roll this type of crap out on top of us, and these idiots not actually question it. And the reason they don't question it, they get to sell 100,000 a year. They're basically the type of people. I wouldn't even want to sort of denigrate a person working as a cleaner in a business, because they've probably got more sense than them. But these people couldn't command a job on 15,000. They couldn't command a job on basic salary. So they understand the position they're in, and they're lucky to be in that position. I call them gagging salaries. So what they've done, they've given them gagging salaries specifically because they know that they're not worth it. It's a trick, it's a Harvard Business School trick. You pay somebody with an extra, give them a lot more money than what they know that they're worth, and they're yours. It's like a schoolboy, like puppets. Like puppets. So we filled our political class full of puppets, getting far too much money, and that's why everybody keeps their mouth shut, doesn't want to tell anybody. But guess what? We have to change that round. We've got to get these criminals out of those positions of power, and we've got to replace them with decent people. We've got to replace them with people who want to do things, whether it be for, just because they're nice people. Most humans, 99% of the population, I've met some complete and utter psychopaths in my time. But I'll tell you what, most of the people I've met, people all over, human beings from all over the world. Doesn't matter where they're from China, Africa, lovely people, humans, lovely. Why is it that politics attract the lowest form of life? I always try to say, it sort of astounds me, and that's where we've ended up. So we've got to replace these with better people. So that's really important. People get involved with Save Us now. We need to replace them, because it's not just Gateshead, it's not just Newcastle, it's not just Edinburgh. This is all over. It's countrywide. So we'll have to have a plan. We'll stop 5G. We'll stop 5G in the next couple of years, right? Because they're going to have to kill us not to stop it. We'll stop the 5G, but what's going to happen? We've got to replace the criminals. Now, that's going to take a few more years. So what I'm going to say to people is, get joined up, set up your own organisations. We're new, we're fresh. Alright? We'll set it up silly, and then there's none of this, do as you're told. And what we really need to do is get rid of the ones that like pull little boys' pants down, little girls' pants down, and the controlling mechanisms over them's got the photographs. That's what we've got to get rid of in politics, because I believe that's one of the biggest problems that we'll have.
What's the problem we have with politics, as you've just highlighted, Mark? Like recently, as in just a few hours ago, we've had a few ministers, government ministers, resigning from the cabinet, etc. Now, what will happen there is other people will be shuffled. That will have. Is my mic just gone there altogether? They'll have a cabinet shuffle, and Joe Bloggs there, who does not know anything about industry or technology or whatever, he's going to get put into a specific job, and he's going to be given the agenda papers there. And you know what they're like when they go to university. They have debating forums, debating sessions where they argue for and they argue against, and they do it passionately for 20 minutes or so. So they're well versed in how to sell their particular part of the agenda, and to keep up that facade of this is actually the real statistics, folks, when we know for a fact that the government receive the figures from paid scientists to give the governments exactly what the government are looking for. So, guys, if you've got any more questions for Mark, pop them to me. There was a further question for you, Mark. Answer this, I don't know, but I'm going to. Did Mark's work within the military require a clearance on secrecy, i.e., is he not gagged or still gagged under the Official Secret Act?
No, because the work I did was early when I was a young engineer. That's called an Official Secrets Act, and I was in Scotland for two. It's funny, isn't it? All these secret weapons sites and that in Scotland. I was there for like 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, and that is covered in the Official Secrets Act. But I'm not going to tell you what I did there. The bit where I came out of my box, what I did, I invented a lot of. So obviously the stuff I've invented is in the public domain, but I invented them on the back of my knowledge about the weaponry, the secret weaponry that I'm not going to tell you about on the battlefield. Now, obviously rolling 868 out, well, it's just, I know that's battlefield interrogation, so unfortunately I'm going to have to tell you. There's an interesting sort of line that has to be crossed there, and this is in the public domain, by the way. Go and research Brunderman weapon systems. So I'm not telling you how to cook eggs, right?
Yeah,
I'm not telling you how to cook eggs.
Right, we'll say that again.
Brunderman weapon systems. Brunderman was a US, I think he was a colonel. Anyway, these phased array weaponry systems have been out since the 40s. The Germans were using them. There was a weapon system called Mammoth in English, but Mammoth, Germans called it, and it was used. Everybody's seen a Private Ryan film, where having the shootout with a machine gun nest. That whole array, that was the first phased array. That was in the 40s. Obviously, that was radar. Its main function was radar. However, there's a number of aircraft crews got pretty sick from that system. And those weapon systems, you've got to remember, the Nazis, right, they experimented in camps, right, let's not call them, let's say, lunatic scientists, experimented in camps on people, and they used certain frequencies, certain radio frequencies to do some experimentation. So the military aspect, the secret military aspect of microwave radiation emitters, been known for many, many years. In fact, it was a US embassy in Moscow that was attacked with a 2.5 gigahertz weapon, quite a number of years ago, where a number of US ambassadors ended up having leukemia and dying. And the recent attack on Cuba, that was a microwave radiation weapon. I can tell you that because obviously the neurological disorders that were caused. I know the mainstream media said it was an ultrasound weapon, but it wasn't. Because that anybody that knows anything about ultrasound weapons would know that there'd potentially be some other issues that would be noticeable. I mean, what you don't want to do is blast a load of sound waves at a building. You might break something. So, you can focus them, but you can focus microwave radiation. I mean, why would you want to use an ultrasound weapon when you've got 50 years worth of microwave radiation weapons that have been proven and tested, and so you wouldn't want to do that anyway. The systems, all pretty interesting, all pretty in the mainstream. Just go and have a look about. There's enough out there without me giving any secrets away. And no, I wasn't in the military. No, I wasn't. I was an engineer on a site. That's it. And so the military side. I did have a flirtation with the military. Didn't last 2 minutes. I won't do as I'm told. I'm a fucking terror. Sorry. I'm a terror for that. I just don't. I don't go in for it at all. In fact, that's one of the biggest problems that we have. Too many people doing as they're told. In fact, what it should do, we should actually get schools. We should actually train kids not to do as they're told. Because what happens when you do as you're told, we end up where we've got humanity on the brink here. We might all die. And the reason why we might all die is because too many people doing as they're told.
Yeah, certainly question things anyway, Talking about schools, Mark, do you know the latest with a school that was at Cornwall somewhere? The parents had withdrawn the children from the school until such time as the council 5G sorted out.
That's right, yeah. Well, John Kitson, he's a member of Save Us Now party. He organised the walkout at the school. I met John at a conference in London a while ago, just outside of London, and we got on chatting. John's one of the Save Us Now people, and he got involved down there. He heard a few stirrings about some mast outside the school and just had a mass walkout until they organised the mast. But what's pretty interesting is why they putting these masts outside the schools?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why. Sterilising the kids.
Sterilise them, yeah, of course.
Sterilise the kids.
What
why
would be,
in schools? Yeah.
You're aware of Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, silent weapons for quiet wars, all these things, yeah?
I'm quite aware of all those things, but what I do, guys, I'll stick to science. The science is bad enough. What I don't do is conjecture. Alright, and people go, that's a bit amazing because you just said some absolutely outrageous things. However, everything I've said I can substantiate in the science. I know it might sound unbelievable, but believers, that's why I won the court case. I can substantiate everything. What I can't do, I won't say things what I can't substantiate. So what I'm going to tell you, the science is bad enough. The conspiracy stuff, I'll leave it to the police. I leave conspiracy to the police because the rest of people for conspiracies, always leave that to them. I'll stick to science because that's what I am. Alright? So, I'm not saying that there isn't, somebody having plans to do things, etc. What I'm saying is, I'll just steer quite well away from it.
Got a question for you. Listen, I need to thank you, Mark, at short notice coming on to People for People Radio, so I thoroughly appreciate that. Question for you. I don't know if we've possibly covered it already, but here's the question as it was placed to me. Would living in a metal box or a Faraday cage help cut radiation levels?
It'll definitely cut background radiation without a doubt. Alright, but the problem is you just imprisoned yourself, so you're just doing the job for them. So, what my advice to everybody, my counsel is fight back. That's what we're here for. That's what Save Us Now is here for. We are the resistance. Humans, there's not a human on this planet, right, who's going to allow themselves to be murdered or their children to be killed. This system will kill them. It'll kill their children. We're not going to allow it. The only thing that we have to do is talk out over. I always have conversations with all the people that I know, right? Because it's always easy to have a conversation with people that have or think the same as what we do, right? And know the same as what we know. It's always easy, it's more comfortable. Well, I want to tell everybody, don't get comfortable. Talk out over. Talk to the people that don't know. We need to gather our numbers. People will get it. They are suffering. They're already suffering the sore eyes, the bad heads, the anxiety, the depression, all attributed in part, in the major part, from microwave radiation transmitters. They cause neurological disorders. They cause cancer. So when people are having strokes down the street, tell their family, microwave radiation increases your blood pressure, it damages the blood-brain barrier, it breaks down the cells in your head, so therefore it causes stroke. Very simple physics, nothing complicated. I know it's a bit complicated for the medical community, they seem to not be able to get their head around it, but I'll guarantee you it's the 120 or the 100 grand a year that they pick up to keep their mouth shut. Alright, so it's up to us. Nobody's come to rescue, by the way. You can't go off and petition your councillor, you can't go off and petition your local MP. They are ignoring us. They don't care. They're on the £120,000 a year. They are the stupidest people on the planet. They would believe anything that anybody told them as long as they were getting paid. So this is down to us. This is a people's movement. It's a down over.
I'll tell you just how ill-informed people are. I was out at the weekend, Mark. I stepped outside to have a cigarette, and there was a guy out there, and he had the artificial cigarette things that they use.
Yeah.
And I says to him, have you ever heard about popcorn? Is my mic fading again? Popcorn. And went on to tell me that he looked at the British Medical Association website and that says it's quite safe. Meanwhile, I'm looking in the sky, I'm looking at the stars, and right 20-30 feet down the road where I was stood, there was one of these 5G lighting systems, yeah? And one of the things that the fella then says to me was, you'll be telling me next that the government wants to kill us off. Right? And with that he shook his head and walked away. So this is what we're dealing with, you know what I mean? Look, everybody, it's only ourselves to blame because we allowed ourselves to be programmed by the construct that is, you know. It's time that people started thinking outside the box and maybe stepping up to the plate a little and doing a little, becoming a little more active, you know, getting people clued up. I certainly am speaking to people on a daily basis about these things, and some of them do scratch their head and not speak to me again, but that's just par for the course. Another or something lined up. Mic's fading out, folks. I'll need to get my mic side sorted out. Does Mark know? I think we'll kind of wrap up after this question, Mark, if you don't mind, because this was an impromptu show, and I thank you again for coming on to People for People Radio. As I say, we'll get your website linked into our site and see if we can get something rolling up the side of the border. So here's the question for you: does Mark know if you're safe if outside if you are grounded? Does Mark know if you would be safe outside if you are grounded?
No. You will be there's two parts to the radiation emitters. You've got background radiation, which is your phased array radar, and then you've got the weaponry. The weaponry is so severe, right, that it is, if you were in a tank on the battlefield, you wouldn't be safe, alright? So, and it's the reason for autonomous tanks, autonomous vehicles on the battlefield, it's not safe for humans. That's with all of the kit that I have on. So they do and can have protective sort of clothing, etc., where it's impregnated. I was talking to a guy the other day who was telling me that they have some protective equipment that they use for battlefield interrogation systems. Yes, but not the weapon. The weaponisation of it, that can chop a tank in half. So, no. So that's it. And it's a bit technical. It's a bit more technical than that. But basically, from the 5G weapon, from the 5G spectrum operating system, and your 4G, yes, but the actual 5G weapon system, no. So consequently, what I say to people is, it's fight back time. It's time for resistance. It's not time to be shy. It's time to step up to the plate. You know, you're up against your back's against the wall. There's only one way to go, and that's outward, fight out. I was always terrible, for fighting, because I had little legs that could never run away. So I'm quite practiced at having a bit of a tear up. Yeah. That's what we need. It's time for tear up. One of the things I was going to say, guys, just to finish off, LED street lighting, stick to that. Try not to get into too complicated. One of people to talk to people about the problem that we have. The LED street light, everybody hates it. Gives you a bad head, sore eyes. Anybody that drives it at night, your eyes are really sore at the finish of it. Nobody's told you that you need to wear protective eyewear around LED street lighting. It is lethal. We know it gives you cancer, increases your cancer risk significantly. So consequently, it's a very good place to start from a technological perspective, because you don't have to be the brightest in the box to understand that they're not very nice. They make your eyes sore. When you explain to people that they give you cancer, that then gets people to wake up a little bit, and it's a good door opener, if you know what I mean, guys. Yeah. Instead of trying to go on the whole technical 5G, I know it's the most dangerous, but if we stick to that, anybody who wants to get active, it's a very, very good door opener. We had a guy out last week knocking on doors. They did 120. They were doing a petitioning gate. They did 120 homes, and they had got 100 signatures out of the 120 to take the LED street lighting down. So,
1, 2.
Yeah.
I think my mic's cutting it as well, which isn't helping too much. Let me see. Alright, that was supposed to be the last question, Mark, but we'll try and squeeze another one in if you don't mind. This question comes from Graham. Can Mark talk about 5G being an uninsurable commodity even by Lloyd's of London? That's how lethal EMF is.
That's correct. Yeah, Lloyd's of London won't touch it with a barge pole. It's totally uninsurable. I did a report for Lloyd's quite a while ago. I think it was about 2013. The emerging risk team on antennas. They will not insure them at all.
There you go. That says everything. That says everything. Mark, listen, I hope to keep in touch with you and have you back on a kind of regular basis if we can.
Sure, yeah. Anything to get this story out, and I implore everybody, anybody who's got this information, pass it on, talk out over. Don't keep it, don't talk to all your friends that already know, the ones that have woken up. Talk to the ones that haven't woken up. We need to gather our number. We don't have long. We do have enough time. Don't let anybody be despondent or be despaired about this. What I'm going to tell you, we win. We do not lose. I'm here to win this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, Mark, listen, thanks very much for coming on. Real shortest notice for the two of us really tonight, but I thank you again. Guys, you've been tuned to People for People Radio. Don't forget, tomorrow night we've got the Ouija show at 9pm UK. Saturday we've got Mike Montagna. Sunday's a bit loose at the moment. And then Monday, of course, we've got the Turtle and Crow Show and Lizzie and Grizz afterwards. So it's been a great show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed the conversation with Mark. We're going to love you and we leave you. We'll be back just after this. So take care, good night, God bless, stay safe.
Also,
more about gel coat. When the fourth round...
Don't you call in the...
More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
well, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.